That's off, that's off, that's off, that's on. Seems to be working. Stream appears to be live. Alright, let's do this. Hello! Shadowcat back! We're doing Pokemon again. Of course we're doing Pokemon again, that's what we're here for. But we're going to make progress this time. Last time we were here, we actually did a lot of really good work. We just didn't make a whole lot of progress doing it, but we answered a lot of really big questions. And so, we have a lot of ground to make up for this time. I think that we can finish this up this time. There's a lot left in the list still to go, but at the same time, we can skip a lot of them. We have been. A lot of them we can take as rules as written. A lot of them don't even apply because they came from Pokemon Arceus, and apparently Pokemon Arceus had to do everything different. So, you know, basically we can write off anything that was done by Arceus. That's convenient. Alright, so, we're gonna get into this. Before we do that, first off, hello to everybody in the chat. Hello, Blizz. Hello, Alden. Good to see you here. I even went through and added the chats to my stream. I don't know if it looks good yet or if it's too small. Maybe it needs to be a little bit bigger. I don't know because I've never tried doing this before. It was kind of a last-minute thing. I think that most people use Streamlabs when they're doing that, but I don't even know what Streamlabs is or how to use it, and I'm certainly not learning today. So, I'm using what I know, and I can do it that way. But you guys can let me know what you think. So, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into this. We're going to need, of course, our browser. And we're going to need our spreadsheet. There we go. Alden says it looks pretty solid. Okay. Good enough for me then. I just wanted what you guys were saying to be up there on the screen. And that works for me. Now if only I can get rid of that little line between the browser and the spreadsheet, I'd be golden. But that line refuses to go away. No matter what I do. It's maddening. Anyway though, what we did last time, like I said, we didn't do a whole lot last time. We ran through a few at the end there. We did the seeded, salt cure, splinters, atomized, identified, all that stuff. That was fine. Parish Song is the one that took us the longest, just because we had to determine what they were doing. And we had to go through so many rules for that, and I am not going to get into that again. Needless to say, the fact that Parish Song was not a permanent effect. As in, it would faint your Pokemon, but if you switched out your Pokemon, it would end, or if you did other things, you could cleanse it. And that it was not really persistent after the battle. We decided that, well, death is a permanent condition. Falling asleep is not. Ergo, Parish Song is a bit of a misnomer. It's not going to perish anything. It's just, you're going to all fall unconscious. So, that one was difficult to do, but we still did it. And today, we're going to be starting off on another one that's going to be a little bit on the difficult side, but not very. It's just going to be a matter of matching up what it does in Pokemon to what we're going to do in Pathfinder or Starfinder. So that's what we're doing today. But of course, before we start that, we got to get the usual plugs out. So if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead and do that. Hit the bell icon. That way you get notified every time these videos come out. If you know somebody else who's also into either tabletop gaming or, in this case, Pokemon, then share this video with them. Otherwise, if you just like me, like what I'm doing, leave a like on the video. You can leave comments down below. There's space for those. But if you're gonna do that, might I suggest that you go ahead and join our Discord. We have one. It's good. We got people in there, which makes it fun. But not only are there people there, there's a channel there called Behind the Screen. And if you want to play with us, join the Discord, go to the Behind the Screen channel. Let me know what game you want to play and what your availability is. And once I have enough people, we'll start playing. So I hope to see you there, and otherwise, we're going to get to work on this. Alright, so, scrolling down, we were on Minimize. And if you look at the browser, you might already see where I'm going on this one. But we're going to come back to status conditions here for a moment. Minimize. A Pokemon that has used the move Minimize or has the effect passed to them will be affected more harmfully by some moves, including Stomp, Steamroller, Body Slam, Dragon Rush, Flying Press, and Phantom Force. In Generation 6, all these moves will always hit the target that has used Minimize. Oh, and I used, what was the move that I used? It's a bird move. It's like Aerial Ace, I think it was? Something like that. But that's not the entire thing. So, Minimize, or in the Japanese, just Shrink, is a non-damaging normal type move introduced in Gen 1, and Minimize raises the user's evasion stat. So, let's see. Gen 1, it raised it by 1 stage. Oh, and Alden says it's Aerial Ace. Yeah, I knew it was a bird move. Okay. And that was his suggestion, too. Because, like, I was getting my tail handed to me in those gym battles. It's like, I can't hit this. I can't hit it. Oh, we'll just use an auto-hit move. I'm sorry, use a what now? Absolutely saved that run in Pearl. Because I didn't know better. Okay, anyway, so Gen 1 raises the evasion by 1 stage, and that persisted all the way up through Gen 4. Gen 5 started to raise it by 2 stages. Now, the Minimized Pokemon is replaced by a tiny generic image. Don't care about that. Really don't care what it looks like. Minimized Pokemon vulnerable to certain moves. Yes, and pretty much all of them. Which is fine. We can abide by that easily enough. Because this is simply double damage, double power, and then double damage again. Which is probably what we're going to stick with. It'll take double damage. Boosted moves bypass accuracy and evasion. I'm not exactly sure what that means. What boosted moves? It says it started in Gen 6. Let's see, vulnerability to moves. But what about moves that bypass or boosted moves? It does not say anything about that because this just says Gen 3 onwards. I'm not sure. Anyway, there's 2 things that I want to consider here. Number 1 is the numbers part, okay? This is very, very simple because it says it simply raises evasion by 1 stage, or later on 2 stages. And we already have a stat for that. So if we come back here to the Moves tab, and I get my my head out of the way, we already did this. So obviously they can skew in either direction, either +6 or -6. And we put that right here. So for attack, that's either an advantage or a disadvantage on their attack rolls. Defense is simply a bonus to their armor class, which can go up to a -6 or a +6. Special attack, same thing. Special defense, same thing. Speed, evasion. Evasion is going to be a bonus on reflex saves. Now, why is that important? Well, in general, a reflex save is not going to help you too much. Okay? Which is, you know, fine, whatever. It means that if you're going to get hit by one of these moves that is actually like an AoE, like we said, all beams are going to be a line shape. If they hit all adjacent targets, then they're going to be a radius. And if they hit all opposing adjacent people, then they're going to be a cone. And I think I just noticed a problem with the whole chat thing on my screen. It's not updating. Why is it not updating? See, this is why we're learning things in real time. If I switch to it, it updates. But I can't keep it on top all the time, it seems. Alright, so that's not going to work as well as I thought it would. Well, this is why we're still learning. Always learning something new. Whether it works, whether it doesn't. Alright, anyway. With anything that is an AoE, so the beams, the all adjacent, which is a radius, or the all opposing adjacent, which is a cone, there is a reflex save there, and so evasion would absolutely help in that. Smaller target, easier to evade the AoE. But one thing that I do want to get into is once we get out of the numbers, they have a picture here. And it is a minimized Chansey fighting a Sudowoodo. I know that Pokemon. And Chansey is tiny. Okay? So we're not just talking about a numbers advantage here, we're also talking about like actual size. You minimize the Pokemon, it gets small. Now, how small can they get? Well, that's actually a really good question. And one that I can answer because we've already been on this page so very many times. I will close that down. Game mastering. I want combat and space and reach. Okay, we've been on this page a lot. We're back here again. So here is the here's the table with all the sizes. Now, in general, most Pokemon are going to fall into the medium or small category. And so, when we're talking about minimizing people, we can say that if you were to minimize, you can drop the size by one size category. So, if it's a medium-sized creature, it becomes a small. Becomes a tiny, becomes a diminutive, becomes a fine, which is something that we already have. Under spells, wizard spells, we have Reduce Person. This is not new. Reduce Person is a level 1 spell. It's not exactly complicated. This spell causes the instant diminution. Diminution's a great word. You never get to use that one. Of a humanoid creature, having its height, length, and width, and dividing its weight by 8. This decrease changes the creature's size category to the next smaller one. The target gains a +2 size bonus to dexterity, a -2 size penalty to strength, minimum of 1, and a +1 bonus on attack rolls and AC due to its reduced size. Which is great. Now, how is this going to work for us? Well, the interesting thing about this is the target is going to gain a +2 size bonus to dexterity. Now, as we already pointed out, if we were to raise our evasion, according to the rules that we wrote down, it's going to give us a bonus to our reflex score. The interesting thing about that is, it's actually built in. By using Reduce Person, we get to boost our dexterity by 2 points. Every 2 points that you boost an ability score, you get another bonus. And the bonus for reflex is dexterity. +2 dexterity is +1 reflex. So not only are we going to keep in line with the Pokemon rules, but we're going to keep in line with the Pathfinder rules simply by using Reduce Person. And I mean, I don't think you can get much more perfect than that. I think that's fantastic. So then let's go ahead and we're just going to do that. So minimize is going to be as per reduce person spell. Perfect. I think that's really the best way we can do it. It's just fun how sometimes things work out. Alright, so what's next on the list? Tar Shot. A Pokemon hit by the move Tar Shot has the effectiveness of fire-type moves used on it doubled. The effect does not stack. This is one that I don't think we have to actually do anything with. So Tar Shot lowers their speed stat by 1 stage. Okay, that's easy enough. Like I said, we already did that work over here on moves. If we lower their speed stat, it's minus 5 feet of movement. That's super simple. All right. And it doubles the effectiveness of fire-type moves used on the target, which I guess basically just makes them weak to fire, because that's what, would happen if you were weak to fire anyway. Tar Shot will not double the effectiveness of fire-type moves used on the target that are already under the effect of Tar Shot, though it may still lower speed. The increased vulnerability to fire attacks does not affect a Pokemon that is terastallized. However, if a Pokemon is already affected by the increased vulnerability, terastallizes, the effect will remain. So, I mean, yeah, that's great. The important part here is, all it's really going to do is lower your speed, make you vulnerable to fire, double the damage. What more do we need? The work is done for us. Alright, so JP says, Reduce Person, one of 2 primary abilities of the Wild Karen, usually followed by Demand Manager Deflection. Fair enough. I'm not adding Karens to the game, though. I feel like that would be just a boss that nobody could beat. And again, could be cathartic, though. You never know. I'll keep it in mind. Alright, so, Tar Shot. Per rules, honestly. So then what's next? Alden says, would Tar Shot make a Pokemon weak to fire 4 times weak to fire? Quite frankly, that's a question that you should be answering, because I honestly have no idea. Is that how it works? Alden says, I have no idea since I believe Tar Shot is a signature move, so not many Pokemon get it. I really do not know. I mean, that is one thing that I would defer to, like, the Pokemon mechanics on. Like, if you can look it up and tell me, we'll go with whatever that is. Because if you were to use that in Pokemon and they actually get 4 times weak to fire, I would go with it. And if not, then we wouldn't. That's one that I would actually just outsource to whatever the games do. I've never used it either, though. I don't know exactly who gets it. I can look it up. Let's see. At least I thought I could look it up. Oh, no, wait. Nope. Oh, yeah, right here. Learn set. It's Colossal. I guess is the only person who gets it. So, yeah, there's that. Like I said, if you can find an answer to that, we'll go with that. Otherwise, kinda, it's not even really an issue for us unless somebody picks Colossal. So there you go. It's one of those things that we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. All right, so next up, grounded. If a Pokemon is immune to ground-type moves due to being a flying type, having levitate, holding an air balloon, or being under the effect of magnet rise or telekinesis, and is hit by smackdown or 1,000 arrows, it becomes grounded and loses immunity to ground-type moves. Oh, and Alden says, from what I've seen in discussions online, then yes. Well, I mean, if that's the way it works in other situations, then that's what I'll go with. Also, Colossal is a viable starter option. It's not super good, though. It doesn't really matter, though. Like, if it's the one that you want, then go for it. That's one of the nice things about this, is like, we're not going to be playing competitively. This is going to be all about story. Your story. Not, hey, this is the story of a random kid who's got to go through 8 gyms and then beat the Elite Four and become champion and all that. No, this is going to be your story. You're going to be able to go out and do whatever it is that you want. And as such, optimization is not a factor unless that's going to be part of what you want to play and part of your character. Like, if you're going to make a character who's going to literally just be, I'm going to be the best, I'm going to be the strongest, I'm going to be #1 in the world, then you're right. Absolutely, you need to be looking at those numbers and saying, well, this is what I need to do. And if you do that, I can promise that your GM is going to punish you. Because nobody likes to try hard. Also because min-maxers ruin the game for everyone. But because of what we're doing here, because it's going to be your story, you are not only welcome to pick something that is not optimal, you're encouraged to. And to make to put a finer point on this, it's kind of like when you're making characters. I'm going to pull something up here. This is not going to be a very long detour. Space Reach, I don't need this one. I'm going to come up here to classes. And I'm just going to go through the basic classes. And Alden's like, please don't go on this tangent. Please don't do this. Don't do this to us. Let's see, JP says, is gameplay going to be the players versus players, or will it be the traveling band? It will primarily be the traveling band, like you would normally have in a tabletop game. That being said, I have never, ever taken PvP off the table. If you wanted to actually challenge your fellow players, you're welcome to. And that can be anything from a friendly sparring match to a death match. I'm not going to stop either one of them. And in fact, I encourage the former. I think that if you wanted to test yourselves against each other, great. I like it. Anyway, when I go through and I look at a lot of these classes, just the core classes: Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Wizard. Okay, and then we look at the classic races, those being Human, Elf, Dwarf, Gnome, Halfling, Half-Elf, Half-Orc, and, I mean, later on I guess they added Aasimar and Tiefling. Every race is really good at certain classes. Like, Barbarians are a Constitution class. Why? Because their rage depends entirely on their Constitution, and because they are, among all things, a health tank. Okay? They're going to get all kinds of extra hit points and everything else like that. They're going to go in there. It's going to be impossible to bring them down, they hope. And they're going to just la machine everything. As such, it is very common to see half-orc or even full-orc barbarians, sometimes even dwarven barbarians, especially because dwarves really like to get that speed boost from rage. For bards, you usually see bards as being either Aasimars or Sometimes elves. Elves get charisma bonuses. Clerics, since they're a wisdom class, they tend to be wizards. Sometimes halflings. Or, you know, human, because human gets to put their bonus anywhere they want. But that's neither here nor there. Druids are a wisdom class, so same thing basically. Monks are a dexterity class, and so are rogues. So if you're going to have a monk or a rogue, you're going to want to have high dexterity. Who gets a bonus to dexterity? Elves do. Half-elves can choose a dexterity bonus. I believe that gnomes also get it. I think. Don't quite remember. Point is that if you want to do this, there are optimal pairings that you can use. However, I have always encouraged using non-optimal. I think that if you wanted to be a halfling barbarian, go for it. The idea that, you know, instead of Frodo Baggins sneaking around the black gates of Mordor to disappear into the mountain or Mount Doom and destroy the ring, yeah, screw that. Frodo picks up a double-headed battle axe and joins Aragorn on the front lines, and they carve their way through the orc army. Now there's a story. Non-optimal is always encouraged because it's the conflict, it's the weird things that really make the characters come to life. So that's my feeling on that. I encourage people to use non-optimal things. I mean, I'm pretty sure, if I can guess, that Blizzard Star is going to want to use an Abra. Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong. And Abras are cool. I like Abras. The only problem with an Abra is, pretty sure it only gets one move. Let's see. Scrolling. Yep. Abras only get one move. So, yeah. That's going to be fun. Your Pokemon is going to learn one move at level 1, and that is the only move that it will ever learn. At least until it levels up. That's going to make combat really interesting because it's like, let's see. You come across a wild Pokemon. The only Pokemon that you currently have is Teleport. Or is an Abra. The only move you have is Teleport. How are you going to beat this Pokemon with Teleport? I don't know. I hope you're good at thinking on your feet. So yeah, not optimal, but fun. And that's the important part. It should be fun. Besides that, like I said, you'll be able to fight alongside your partner Pokemon. So Abra's teleporting all over the place. Whatever character Blizzard Star makes, grabs a frying pan and just, I don't know, beats the Bulbasaur over the head. Or whatever they happen to find. So Abra, keep them busy. Teleport, and then frying pan. Clang! And then just throw a Pokeball at the unconscious Pokemon. Alright, so. You'll make it work. You will, I promise. Alright, so getting back to the status conditions. We're going to do Grounded. And Grounded seems like it's going to be pretty easy. So, a Pokemon is ungrounded if any of the following apply. JP says, is it teleport self or teleport person? Ooh, that's a good question. In the game, it is teleport self. However, can it teleport somebody else? That is something that I don't know was ever... I don't know if that was ever really discussed. Can they teleport other people? See, this is like when we left off last time. Well, at the very tail end of the At the very tail end of the session last time, we were talking about what these Pokemon can do outside of combat. And like we discussed that ghost types technically have a chance to become completely intangible. And so we discussed that technically, because a Pokemon would need to begin and end its move in an open space, if your ghost type was intangible, it could pass through 20 feet of solid material. So, a concrete wall, a steel wall, an armored door means nothing if you have a ghost type. Well, this is similar to that. Can an Abra teleport its trainer? Now, Alden says technically it can outside of combat because you can use it to teleport to the nearest Pokemon Center. I was unaware of that. Are you sure about that? I trust you on that one, actually, but I just never got to do that. I do know that if all of your Pokemon are fainted, you get, air quotes, teleported to the Pokemon Center, but that's not a teleport so much as it says that you gather up your Pokemon and you run back. So you get teleported in game terms, but it still says that you had to basically curl your tail between your legs and run away. And Alden says 100% it is a speedrun tech. Interesting. Okay, then. Well, then we have our answer. Yes, an Abra can teleport a person with them. Which means it's no longer a question of if, it's just a question of how much. You know what I want to do? Hold on a second. I want to actually look up teleport. We're tangenting! Teleport! Okay. And PC Unicorn is here. Hello, PC. Okay. Teleport. So in wild battles, the user flees and the battle ends. In trainer battle, teleports always fail. If the user's level is less than the opponent's level, there's a chance that teleport will fail between approximately 10% and 25% depending on the levels, but that was in Gen 1. Gen 2, if teleport is used by a player's Pokemon, it can still fail because of the opponent's level. But this no longer applies to wild Pokemon using teleport due to a bug. Teleport will fail if the user is trapped by a trapping move, obviously. In this generation only, teleport fails in battles with Pokemon encountered as traps in the Team Rocket's hideout. GS Ball Celebi. I know that Pokemon. Tin Tower Suicune. I know that one too. Or the scripted Red Gyarados. Let's see. Gen 3 and 4. It fails if used in wild battle that is not a single battle. It can no longer fail there. Let's see. Trapping, don't care. Coliseum, there are no wild encounters, so teleport always fails. Can be used as a second move of a contest competition, so no. Let's see. Teleport will succeed regardless of ingrain. The user is owned by a trainer holding a smoke ball. Teleport will succeed regardless. Gen 6. If the user is holding a smoke ball, teleport will succeed regardless of abilities. Gen 7. Teleport always fails in battles during trials. SOS battles are considered a single battle as long as they're only a single opponent. Let's go Pikachu. Let's go Eevee. Don't care. Let's see. Gen 8 and onwards, teleport retains effect in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, and succeeds regardless whether the user is trapped. It only ends a battle if used by a wild Pokemon. Aha! Outside of battle, though. From generations 1 to 6, as well as in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, using Teleport Outdoors warps the player to the last visited Pokemon Center, or to their own house if they have never visited a Pokemon Center. What exactly are the odds of that? You have to go out of your way for that. Let's see. From Gen 4 onwards, visiting one's own house sets it as the current teleport location. Okay, so you can reset it. Let's see. In Gen 1, the player must heal their Pokemon at the counter for it to count as a visit. In subsequent generations, they need only enter the building. Okay. Now, interestingly, let's run through some scenarios here. Because it says it takes you to your last visited Pokemon Center or your home. We need to consider the most extreme case here, which is you could visit your home and then you could fly to the very end, all the way to the champion, and then if you use teleport, it would take you back home. Meaning that there's essentially no range on it. Range doesn't matter. So we have to consider exactly what that means for us. Fortunately, we actually do have a spell for this. Teleport. It's a wizard spell. Here we go. Alright, teleport. So it is a Mega spell, occultist, psychic, sorcerer, wizard, spiritualist, summoner, witch. It's a great spell. Everybody loves teleport. Nobody likes walking. So, the target, you and touched objects and other touch-willing creatures. This spell instantly transports you to a designated destination which may be as distant as 100 miles per caster level. Interplanar travel is not possible. You may bring along objects so long as their weight does not exceed your maximum load. You may also bring one additional willing, medium, or smaller creature, carrying gear and objects up to their maximum load, or its equivalent per 3 caster levels. A large creature counts as 2 mediums, a huge counts as 4 mediums, and so forth. All creatures to be transported must be in contact with one another, and at least one of those creatures must be in contact with you. As with all spells where the range is personal and the target is you, you need not make a saving throw, although you can. Nor is spell resistance applicable to you. Only objects held or in use by another person receive saving throws and spell resistance. You must have some clear idea of the location and layout of the destination. The clearer your mental image, the more likely the teleportation works. Areas of strong physical or magical energy may make teleportation hazardous or even impossible. Okay. So now here, let's break this down. So level 1 Abra can teleport. Okay? And it can teleport 100 miles per caster level. Now, the caster levels are normally going to be anywhere from 1 to 20, and so by the time you get this as a level 5 sorcerer, you're going to be like level 7, I think? Maybe 6. Let's see, JP says, it said it takes you home only if you've not visited a Pokemon Center. Once you go to the first center, it no longer takes you home. Like in Minecraft, once you move the bed, that's where you are now. Basically yes. PC says, so Goku is a wizard? Goku is a wizard. That's where he got the muffin. Actually, no, Goku is not a wizard because wizards are smart. Goku is a sorcerer. Okay? He was born being able to do this. Although sorcerers can learn things as well. It's a little bit harder for them. Actually, that makes him a sorcerer monk. I want to make a character like that now. That sounds awesome. I'm going to cast Lightning Bolt with my fist. Okay, anyway, we have to remember we have to remember that our Pokemon are at a completely different scale, which means that this is gonna get rough. Normally speaking, teleport lets you teleport 100 miles per caster level, which means that teleport caps out at 2,000 miles at level 20, which, you know, is huge. 2,000 miles. What is that? Let's see. I drove from Detroit to DFW. And I'm gonna pull up Google Maps here for a moment. No, I don't want to turn these on. Okay, Detroit, Michigan. Directions. No, not to here. Although, how far is that? That's only 490 miles. Nope, we gotta go further. We gotta go further. I drove from Detroit to Dallas. Let's find the best route. Detroit to Dallas is actually only 1,100 miles. So, gotta go further. Another major city. Let's see. If we're going past Texas, the next one is New Mexico. So, let's try Albuquerque. How the hell do you spell that? Whatever, it autofilled. Good enough for me. Calculating. That is only 1,500 miles. Okay, not far enough. Next state over is Arizona? I believe it's Arizona. Capital Arizona is Phoenix, I think. Phoenix, Arizona. Calculating. That is 1,985 miles. Okay, good enough for me. A level 20 wizard would be capable of teleporting from Detroit to Phoenix with a single spell. And then still have enough teleport left to get to the Cinnabon. So, that is what a level 20 wizard could do. However, if we're going to go ahead and assume that we're doing this per caster level, then Abra can technically level up to level 100. 100 miles times 100 levels is 10,000 miles. I think that is enough to teleport across the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and then some. I think so, at least. I don't know how far across the ocean it is. Let's see. Los Angeles to Tokyo. Can't seem to find a way there. Use a plane. I'm aware we're crossing the ocean. Apparently Google Maps can't do plane routes. Anyway, I don't know what 10,000 miles is. But that's a lot. it might actually be too much. We could actually reduce that and just say that it would be their level divided by 5, which we've done before, which means that we would go back to the normal wizard scaling, which is still huge. However, something that we need to keep in mind is that it says you can bring along objects so long as their weight does not exceed your maximum load. And for that, we need to go back to ability scores. Alden says the circumference of the Earth is 24,000 miles. JP says it's 25 at the equator. So 10,000 miles is a little under half of the literal planet. You know, I gotta say, number one, that is incredibly broken. However, that being said, that is a level 100 Pokemon. I feel like by the time you hit max level, you are allowed to be broken. And I mean, maybe that's just me. I don't know how you feel about that. In terms of game design, though, I really have no problem with high-level characters being overpowered. And I'll explain why. It's not exactly a rabbit hole or anything, but you as a main character are already exceptional, okay? Because when the goblins attack, I mean, you're level 1, the NPCs are all level 1, the goblins are less than level 1, but when goblins attack the village, all of the villagers run one way, and you, as the players, as the heroes, run the other way. You're all level 1, but you're better than them. And that's at level 1. By the time you hit level 5, you are significantly stronger. And when I say significantly stronger, I mean that you, as a level 5 player, are fully capable of going into that village and doing worse things than the goblins could ever dream of. Okay? Like, by the time you hit like level 5, you are Spider-Man incarnate. With great power comes great responsibility. Because you have great power, you can do very bad things. And if you're an evil character, you might. But when we're talking about, you know, a level 20 character, not even level 20, which is max, we're talking like level 15 characters, they are basically walking gods. I mean, by the time you hit level 15, you are slaying literal legends. If you're going to be a dragon hunter, okay, dragons are like a CR 15 or higher monster. You are slaying the things that parents tell their children to make them stay in bed at night. You're killing them. So I think that it's well earned that you can be absolutely overpowered. And that means that, yes, if your level 100 Abra can teleport you from, say, I don't know, Indianapolis all the way to the Shenzhen zone, or whatever it's pronounced, so that you can get some authentic Chinese, and then teleport you back so that you can still catch, you know, Top Chef at 8 o'clock, I think you've earned that. I mean, I really think you have. The only question then is, why is not everybody doing that? And, I mean, as Alden said, even Pokemon NPCs have never used level 100 Pokemon themselves. Champions are usually in the late 60s. So yeah, I mean, there you go. Even the champions are not using Pokemon that high level. And if we were going to go with like the late 60s, I mean, think about that. 60 times 100 is 6,000 miles. If you've got a psychic Pokemon that knows teleport, that can teleport you 6,000 miles, that's pretty much anywhere in the continent. I mean, this is basically going back to the Warhammer module and getting back into Psychers. It's that level of power. And I mean, I'm here for it. I want my high-level Pokemon to be terrifying. But I also want them to be your friend. I want them to be your big, terrifying friends. And I want every time you throw your Pokemon out for people to look at you with awe and wonder. Okay? That's what I want to see. I want them to be these pillars of legend. And that's what they will be. So I think that leaving it alone is probably going to be okay. I think it will be. Now, in terms of like what they can bring with you, because that's range. But let's also remember that little Abra, I don't have the starting stats for Abra. Let's see. Teleport. Oh, that's by breeding. Oh, and Blizzstar says have to leave. Alright, Blizz, it was great having you here, and hopefully we'll have you back here next week. So, you take care. Okay, Dream Eater, acquisition, side game data. Okay, well, oh, I'm already looking at Abra. I don't know what your base stats are. Oh wait, here we go, base stats. No, it's EV yield. I have no idea what your base stats are. Should be above moves. Well, let's see. Oh, wait, no, here we go. Base stats. Perfect. You're right. HP 25, attack, strength, all that stuff. Let me go back and look at the conversions here. Strength is tied to the attack stat. And so it's always going to be the numbers there divided by 10, which means that Abra is going to have a strength of 2. Now, why is this important? Remember how it said that you can only teleport up to your maximum load, and only one person carrying their maximum load for every 3 levels. Now, that means that a level 100 Abra will be able to teleport 33 people. That's a lot. However, our level 1 Abra can teleport nobody, and at its strength 2, its maximum load, heavy load, is 20 pounds. So, yeah. That's going to be hard. And since they do get 1 ability point per level, that means that technically when you level up, you could keep raising its attack power, and that would let it carry more. It's actually going to be a weird thing where normally an Abra would not have a very high attack stat, but at the same time, you could train its attack stat just so that it could teleport better. Maybe. And Alden says that checks out. The Alakazam has paper-thin attack and defense. Yes. And that's what I'm saying here. Because of that, I think that we could train this up so that you could have a very strong, physically, Abra, and it could be just the best teleporter ever. It would suck at pretty much everything else. But, you know, could work. Alright, so, that being said, I don't think there's anything more that we need to do there. We can get back to working on the grounded stuff again. But that's fascinating to think about. I love this. Anybody who has an Abra could be your solution to travel, because whether we're playing in modern times or even if we're playing in Starfinder, if you have to walk from place to place, it's going to take time. But if anybody has a Pokemon with teleport, once it is of sufficient level, which since Pokemon level up faster shouldn't take too long, they can simply just end the whole walking thing entirely. No more walking once you have teleport. It's a trade-off, though. Abra obviously doesn't have any other moves. So, is it worth your time? That's up to you. Alright. Anyway, getting back to grounded. So, a Pokemon is ungrounded if any of the following apply. It's a flying type, it has levitate, it's holding an air balloon, or it's under magnetic rise or telekinesis. And if you use a certain move on it, you can negate those. Frankly, I don't think there's anything more that I have to do with this one. The rules are pretty clear. And Alden says, I mean, if I wanted to optimize teleportation, I could use a Gallade instead. I mean, maybe? I don't know who all learns teleport. Let's see. The Abras learn it, Mewtwo learns it, Natu learns it. Ralts, Corellia, and Gardevoir all learn it. And Alden says, I know you said I should be prepared to get whacked if I min-max, but I can't help it. You know what? That's fair, because that's how some people just are. But, like, I'll tell you this one. It's not like I'm going to go after you specifically and say, well, because you min-max, now I'm going to target you directly. I'm not that person. What I will say, though, is that when I make encounters, I have to scale them. And in general, you have to scale them to the strongest person. Because otherwise, the strongest person will end the encounter and nobody else gets to do anything. I learned this one the hard way. I had a player in the past who made a monk grappler and poured everything into grappler because once a character is grappled, they can't do anything. So it's kind of funny that way. What happened was, every single thing that I threw at them, they would just grapple it, and that would end it. And so the only thing that I could really throw at them was either monsters that were so lethal they would destroy the entire party, or I was limited to things that just simply couldn't be grappled. Like, you can't grapple a gelatinous cube. You just can't. You're not allowed to. It's like trying to wrestle Jell-O. Except the Jell-O eats you. But yeah, I mean, that's how that works. So it's not so much that, like, I'm going to punish you specifically, but everyone is going to suffer because of it. Because everyone else is going to be like, well, we can't do anything. This thing is way too strong for us. It's like, it's not my fault. But yeah, see, Ralts, Corellia, Gardevoir all apparently learn teleport. Oh, there's Gallade. It's down there. Egg groups. Human-like. I didn't realize that was an egg group. Alright, so, getting back to Grounded. Grounded, I think we can leave as rules as written. So Grounded is going to be per rules. There's nothing that we have to change there. If you have those effects, we're simply going to negate those effects. Okay. Which means magnetic levitation. That is one of those that we literally just covered. Because Grounded is what they lose if they use or they get magnetic levitation, and that's from magnetic rise. So a Pokemon levitating on magnetism via magnet rise is immune to the ground type attacks for 5 turns. Again, we don't have to worry about this. As a matter of fact, hold on a second, because this is all groundedness as one big subcategory. You are grounded unless you have the following: magnetic levitation, telekinesis. Both of them add the same thing. So a Pokemon levitated by telekinesis is immune to ground type moves, spikes, toxic spikes, arena trap for 3 turns. In addition, all other moves except for one-hit knockout moves hit the target regardless of accuracy and evasion. However, it does not allow moves to hit semi-invulnerable Pokemon. Again, I think there's nothing else that we have to do here. Both of these are fine the way they are. Alright, moving on. So, these are healing moves. Aqua Ring. Alright, let's take a closer look at this one, because healing is not something that gets used too much, but at the same time it's also very powerful. Alright, so the user surrounds itself in a veil of water, allowing it to restore 1/16 of its maximum HP rounded down at the end of every turn. The Aqua Ring works regardless of the user's type. Again, we get back to those weird fractions. I hate the weird fractions. I know we still used 1/4 up here with substitute. I'm inclined to move this up to 1/10 just because I think that's a lot easier to deal with. We're not going to have huge decimals that we have to round. I mean, even with 1/10, we may have a little bit of rounding, but it'll be easy. So this is 1/16 of its maximum HP at the end of every turn, regardless of the user's type. How long does it last, though? If the affected Pokemon is holding a big root, the amount restored of restored HP is increased by 30%. Let's see. It does not say how long it lasts. I mean, I guess it just lasts. Well, either that or it's just one move. Let's see. Maybe it's not a persistent effect. I thought that it would be a persistent effect. Maybe it's just a single ability, you use it, and it's done. Okay. That's fine then. That's fine. So, all we gotta do is just say it's going to heal 1/10. I think that'll be easier. And let's see, it says if they're holding a big root, the amount restored is increased by 30%. I will deal with that later. I will deal with the big root thing later. So we're just going to say heal. %, of max HP. And there we go. That should be fine. Next up is going to be rooting. A Pokemon plants its roots using Ingrain and restores 1/16 of its maximum HP each turn, but cannot switch out or flee, even if hit by a move that would force it to, such as Roar or Dragon Tail. If it's a flying type, or a Pokemon levitate, it is rooted to the ground. It is susceptible to ground type moves, spikes, toxic spikes, etc. If the Pokemon cannot be affected by magnet rise and telekinesis, and if they are removed, or they're removed upon rooting. Okay, Well, I mean, that's basically the same thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and say per rules. Actually, you know what? I've debated on this before. The whole 1/16 HP thing. We all have calculators. I'm just gonna make this easy. We have calculators. I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. I don't like the fact that we have to use calculators for this, but I mean, we've been using calculators for Dungeons and Dragons forever. Okay, next category is next turn. First up is laser focus. Laser focus causes the user's moves to result in a critical hit at the end of the next turn, unless the move's target has battle armor, shell armor, or is under the effect of a lucky chant. Cool. So, automatic crit. Is there anything that I have to do about that? All of our abilities that we've made so far, some of them have status chances when they're used, like Headbutt here. So for Headbutt, there is a 30% chance that it flinches the target, but it doesn't have a critical effect. Critical hits just do more damage. And that's fine, honestly. Yeah, laser focus. Your next attack is a crit unless they have battle armor, shell armor, or they're under a lucky chant. Sure. The effect of laser focus can be copied by Psych Up or Transform. Yeah, it's fine. Per rules. Taking aim. Is it the same thing, just a different name? When a Pokemon uses Mind Reader or Lock-On to take aim at the target, the user's next damage-dealing move will hit that target without fail, even if the opponent uses a move that offers a turn of semi-invulnerability. Huh, cool. So, even if you're up in the air underground, we can still hit you. Again, there's nothing I need to do. This is basically, True Strike. Except good. Because True Strike is a terrible move. So, for anybody who does not know, True Strike is an arcane spell and a divine spell, I do believe. I think everybody gets it. Nope. There we go. It is a cantrip, I believe. Or it's level 1. I think actually it might be level 1. True Strike, True Strike, True Strike. Where is it? True Skill, True Strike. Here we go. So this is famously known. Let's see. True Strike only gives advantage, though, right? At least in 5e. Yes, close, kinda, sorta. It probably does that in 5e, which makes sense. PC says Gelatinous Cube equals Dungeon Roomba. That is true. In fact, I have used them that way. True Strike in 3.5 and Pathfinder 1st Edition gives you a plus 20 on your next attack roll. Okay? Which is almost a guaranteed hit. Almost, because, like, there's always the chance that you can miss. And it is a first level spell. But here's the thing. True Strike is probably the most famous example of what's called a trap spell. And why do I say trap spell? Because there are spells. In fact, there are a lot of things. There are spells, feats, features, all kinds of things that are inserted into this game as a trap. Things that are going to benefit you extremely nichely, and that are, quite frankly, a waste of your time. True Strike is one of them. So True Strike is going to give you a bonus on one attack roll, on your next attack roll rather, and so that sounds great on paper. At the same time though, it is a level 1 spell. You could get a plus 20 on your next attack roll, or you could give somebody else a plus 20 on their attack roll, or if you're going to do that, why not just come down here and get Burning Hands? And Alden says it's a noob trap. True Strike is also a noob trap in BG3, so I'm familiar with it. It's considered the worst spell in the game, because it is the worst spell. You could take True Strike, you could also take Burning Hands, which is going to do 1d4 fire damage to a maximum of 5d4. Also, Burning Hands is a cone. Is a 15-foot cone. If you can hit 2 people with this, you have already more than outdone the damage with True Strike. So yes, it is a noob trap. And unfortunately, maybe fortunately, I'm not sure, taking aim sounds a lot like that. It's going to be a guaranteed hit. Yay! However, interestingly enough, if it can hit somebody who is otherwise semi-invulnerable, such as, with Fly or Dig, that does make it useful. That actually makes it very useful. You can hit what otherwise could not be hit. I mean, we don't have to change anything for this one. Per rules, it's fine. Okay, Drowsy. So, Drowsy is something that I think was only in, well, no, we didn't do that. Let's see. Yawn and Gmax make them drowsy. Let me just take a look at Yawn. So, effects, or generations 3 and 4, it makes the target drowsy. At the end of the next turn, a drowsy Pokemon will fall asleep unless it's already affected by a non-volatile status condition. If a drowsy Pokemon switches out, it loses drowsiness. Okay, so it's basically just, it's the same thing as Hypnotize, but delayed. And that's fine. That's fine. I see no reason why we have to change this. Let's see. Yawn no longer fails during an uproar, but drowsiness cannot cause Pokemon to be asleep during an uproar. Yawn will fail if the target has the ability Comatose or is a Meteor form Minior. Drowser Pokemon has Comatose or is Minior form will not fall asleep. Okay, fine. And it has 100% accuracy, which is why it's very popular. Okay, I mean, yes. So there's nothing we need to do here. This is fine as is. Oh, wait. No, hold on. That was actually missing. Okay, so drowsy. Wait a minute. Do I already have it on here? Oh, it's in 2 different places. Well, now hold the phone. So, let's see. Well, Alden says, since accuracy is not relevant in this rule set, it does not get that advantage. This is true. This is true. Accuracy is not the biggest deal. However, because it has 100% accuracy, it's just a status move. It will affect everything around it. As a matter of fact, I need to go look at Yawn again. What is the coverage for that? The coverage for that is all opposed and allies. That makes this a radius ability. So if your Pokemon uses Yawn, you will fall asleep. Everything will fall asleep. You say there's also there's 2 different conditions called drowsy. Yeah, I believe that the other one is from Arceus. And Alden says that's not how it works. I thought that's how it worked. Oh, you can target your ally. Okay, so yellow must be your available targets. Red is going to be it hits everyone. Okay, never mind. So it is single target. It is single target then. Never mind. I got that wrong. Alright, scrolling up. Let's see. Burn, freeze, frostbite, paralysis, poison, sleep, drowsy. Here we go. Drowsy, this is the ones, yeah, specifically from PLA. You said PLA, so this is Pokemon Legends Arceus. Right. Learning my acronyms. Alright, don't need to worry about that one. So, yes, when we come down here to this drowsy, this is fine. But I am going to go ahead and make an adjustment up here. This is going to be PLA. There we go. All right, next, we're getting into the section for priming. So charged rather. A charged Pokemon has the power of its next electric attack, or its electric words. A charged Pokemon has the power, which is damage in Gen 3, of its next electric type move doubled. Prior to Gen 9, the condition lasted for the next the next turn. In Gen 9, the effect remains active until the next attempt to use an electric type move. It does not stack. A Pokemon can become charged by using the same move, or by using the move charge or abilities Electromorphosis, and Wind Power. Okay, I don't think there's anything that we have to change here. Seems pretty straightforward. You use charge, your next electric ability is charged. And, you know, since we're basing pretty much all of this off of Gen 9, once charged, you stay charged until your next electric type move. However, because we have to deal with life outside of battles, well, actually, no. Even Pokemon will address this, because your Pokemon is not going to stay charged once the battle ends. So we don't even need to worry about specifying that. Once you're out of battle, the charge is going to end regardless. So that works. While we're here, stockpile count. When the move stockpile is used, the user will stockpile energy. The user can stockpile energy up to 3 times. The moves Spit Up and Swallow inflict damage and heal the user based on the number of stockpiles, respectively, but will also reset the stockpile count. Both moves fail if the stockpile count is 0. So, pretty specific. At the same time, though, I don't see that there's anything that I have to do. I mean, does this even have an effect outside of the fact that it just sets up a counter? Stockpile stores up energy for the user and has no secondary effect. The maximum number of stockpiles user can have is 3. If used after the 3rd count, it will fail. I mean, again, seems pretty straightforward. Let's see, Alden says, yes, it does. Wait, what effect does it have outside of just setting up the counter? Gen 4 onwards, in addition to previous effect, it gains a secondary effect of raising their defense stat and their special defense stat by 1 stage each after stockpiling. Once the user has used Spit Up or Swallow, the increases in it... Yeah. Alden's got me. And Sky is here. Hello, Sky. Good to see you. Okay, so once they use Spit or Swallow, the increases in defense and special defense gained this way are lost. In addition, stockpiles uses are raised to 20. Cool. Still though, it all seems pretty straightforward. I don't think there's anything that I need to do here, because it says it raises their defense stat and special defense stat by 1 stage each. And we already have the rules for that. Let's see. And PC says, arrived at church. In the general channel, posted what I arrived to. That's going to be either good or bad. Alright, hold on. Let me take a look. This is a professional operation, I'll have you know. Because professionals check Discord while they're on stream. Let's see. It's a giant balloon! Apparently they're out and about. Just, don't get them tangled up in power lines. That seems like a bad. Okay, anyway. I don't think there's anything that we have to do here. Just follow the rules as they're written, and should be fine. Next, Defense Curl. Defense Curl causes the power of roll out an Ice Ball to double for... Oh, I didn't know it did that for Ice Ball. Interesting. To double for Pokemon, but the effect is not transferred by Baton Pass. However, Defense Curl also increases your defense, as far as I know. Yeah, it increases the user's defense by 1 stage. Let's see. Oh, PC Accord says, oh, it is. It's very bad. Nylon is conductive. Nylon cannot... How the hell is nylon conductive? It's plastic. I feel like I missed something here. I have to go look at that later. No, nylon is literally plastic. It's one of the few synthetics that you can actually make at home. This is not a science channel, though. If you want to learn how to make nylon at home, you can look that up elsewhere. Super easy, though. That does not mean that you can make yourself a nylon shirt. I think. Actually, you probably could. I don't know. I'm not a tailor, so you could probably do it if you're smart enough. Alden says, okay, Defense Curl. Yes, it's an interesting secondary effect. Could be fun. Yeah, sure. I mean, I like Rollout. Anything that I have to do less work for, I can just set it and forget it. Defense Curl and then Rollout, I've used it. Alright, so, per rules for charged, per rules for that, and for Defense Curl, per rules. Good enough for me. Alright, next is just plain primed. Primed is a status condition exclusive to Pokemon Legends Arceus that causes me to ignore the rest of this statement and just put NA on the spreadsheet because we're not doing anything from Legends Arceus. Just like that. Alright, so we don't need to worry about that one. Which means we get to move into the next section, Prevention. Which, I mean, we're getting down there, right? So, damaging, effectiveness, groundedness, healing, next turn, priming, prevention. So, prevention and stats, forced move, multi-turn move, transient, and that's pretty much it. There's still a lot to go through. It's okay though, we're getting there. Okay, so can't escape. This is going to be rather interesting because when it comes to these, can't escape, no retreat, Octolock, we have to really determine what do these mean for us. So when it says that you can't escape, it means that you can't escape nor can you switch out. What does that mean? And we're going to have to get abstract on this one. Because in the Pokemon games, it just means that you can't hold the buttons and flee, and you can't switch them out with your Pokemon. For our purposes, though, that means that if you were to try and physically move your Pokemon, or maybe even your trainer, away from that Pokemon, something is going to prevent you from getting away. How? What does that mean? And this is not something that we can really ignore, because it's kind of a big deal. There are a lot of moves that cause this, and the reasons that they cause them are valid. I mean, if you're in a bad matchup and somebody uses, I don't know what the moves are, but somebody uses a move that you can't switch out, that's intentional. They're doing that to capitalize on the typing effectiveness, so it's important. But what does it mean for us? So let's go ahead and we'll war game this a little bit. Let's say that you're in a fight with a Pokemon and it uses a move that you can't escape now. What happens if you try? Well, obviously in the game it just means that you fail, but what happens if you actually try to run away? Are we going to physically stop you from moving? That doesn't make sense. You should be able to move. You can move closer, obviously, you just can't get away from them. This is going to be a tricky one. An interesting thought comes to mind. What if, and this is kind of a weird thought, but what if we were to make this a status effect that made it so that you could not move beyond a certain range? Which is to say that, let's say that you were 30 feet away from the other Pokemon when they used it. What if it locked you into a ring around them where you could not move closer or further from 30 feet? Now, they would be free to approach you if they wanted, or they could keep you at range that way, but they could keep you at that range until the effect wore off, which is either going to be when your Pokemon is knocked out, or something else happens, I'm not sure what. But it means that when they did that, on your turn, you would be forced to move to that radius. So let's say that you're locked in at 30 feet. And the other Pokemon charges in, and it hits you. So now the distance is like 5 feet, because you're adjacent to each other. On your next turn, for your move action, you are forced to return to 30 feet. Now, why is that important? Well, because number one, if they were to force you to move, that could open up an attack of opportunity. So that could be good. There's also the fact that you still can't get away, obviously. Alden says there are moves to bypass it. Teleport is one of them, for example. And that's fair. I'm not saying there's not ways to get out of it, but we need to figure out what it does when you can't. That's the real question there. What does it do to you while you are in combat? I mean, there's also the fact that you can't switch your Pokemon out, which means that Pokeballs kind of stop working when they use these moves. But that's literally just an on-off switch, and I can just say it doesn't work for whatever reason. And that's fine. That's a little bit of Pokemon weirdness. It's basically magic, and we can hand-wave magic. But the actual physical movement, we could also, instead of locking them into a ring, we could lock them into kind of like an arena. And this could be interesting. So let's say that I need to find out what moves do this, because I need to know. So, escape prevention. Moves that do it. Anchor shot. Here we go. So, anchor shot prevents a Pokemon from fleeing. Now, that doesn't mean that it loses anything else. So, this is not paralyze or anything like that. It's just, you can't leave. What if we did this, okay? I'm going to pull this in again. So, over here, we've got this guy. I think we made him a Graveler. I think we did. I'm going to make him a Graveler. Alright, there's a Graveler. Nameplate. Thank you. And this guy's a Charizard. Now, I don't know if Graveler can actually learn this. Doesn't matter. So, obviously, I'll zoom in here a little bit. Let's say that Graveler is going to use this move, and it's going to stop Charizard from running away. Okay? Now, first off, I have to determine the area. So, I don't know what these levels are. Like, who gets Anchor Shot, and what level do they get it at? Oh, only you get it, and you get it level 32. Oh, 52. In Generation 8. Maybe a bad example, but, I mean, let's just go with that example. I don't think there are any rock moves that do this. Well, there's 1,000 Waves. That's close enough, right? Why are all these moves legendary? Alright, so I'm going to go with just a random number then. Okay, random number. $92. Damn. I had to roll that number, didn't I? Alright, so let's say then that we're doing this. It's 92, and we're going to go back here to the moves sheet, okay? Now, per the sheet, right here, the range of these moves is going to be 25 plus 5 for every 2 levels. So at 92, and Alden says, so not many mons get it. Yeah, that's fine, I guess. There's still plenty of moves, though, they're going to prevent escape. Anyway, 25 feet plus 5 feet for every 2 levels. Let's see. So that's going to be 92 divided by 2. 90 divided by 2 is going to be 45 plus 1, 46. So 46 plus... Or no, 46 times 5, actually. Because for every 2 levels. So 46 times 5, I have no idea. That's math that I just don't want to do right now. 25 plus 46 times 5 is 255 feet. Now, that is kind of insane. So, what if we were to divide that by 2? So, if I divide that in half, because I'll make this a radius move. In fact, I should probably put that on here. Lines can stay the same. Radius, however, is going to be range 50%. And for cones, range 50%. Okay. Now, I do that because if we're going to go ahead and round this down, that's going to be 125 feet. Okay? 125 feet. Now, that is still enormous. If I take this guy and I give him his aura back and say 125 feet, well, that's still the entire area. So it's kind of significant in that, well, it's significant in several ways. Obviously, still, you have full movement in here, but somewhere in here is going to be the end of this range. Yeah, there it is. So let's say he's in the corner here, and I've got Charizard over here, and Charizard's having a bad time, okay? We could make it so that these no retreat moves, you cannot leave this red area. So if you try to leave the red area, you can't get out. And Alden says, the list also doesn't seem to include moves that do damage over time and trap a Pokemon, which is strange. For example, Wrap and Fire Spin. I don't know. Wrap, I believe, is more of a Paralyze? I think. And Fire Spin, I don't know off the top of my head. Hold on a second. I mean, I can look at that because Wrap, I believe, literally wraps the Pokemon up. Personally, it's basically a grapple. But let's look. Yeah, looking at it, Anchor Shot block, Fairy Lock, G-Max, Terror, Jaw Lock, Mean Look. Wow, Mean Look? Wow, that's really low level, actually. No Retreat, Octolock, Shadow Hold, Spider Web, Spirit Shackle. I know Spirit Shackle. I can't believe I forgot about Spirit Shackle. I like that move because Wobbuffet gets it. Again, that's how you kill legendaries. You Spirit Shackle them, and then you Destiny Bond them, and then you say, bring it on. And then, of course, Thousand Waves. There's also abilities, so Arena Trap, Magnet Pull, and Shadow Tag. Still, though, I don't know what about Wrap and Fire Spin, but for the rest of these, I think that we've got something going on here. Wait, Alden says Wobbuffet doesn't get that? I thought it did. I would have swore it did. I gotta check that now. Where is my silly boy? It's Decidueye's signature move? Really? I thought lots of people got Spirit Shackle. Spirit Shackle gonna be... well, I'll be damned. It does belong exclusively to Decidueye. You can't even learn it. I'm confusing it with Shadow Tag, which is an ability. Maybe I am. I don't know. Either way, I just know that Wild Buffet kills God. Okay, that's all that matters. Anyway, for most of these, I think we can stick with the system that I've got built here. Which is to say that when you use it, you can create basically your own private arena that they can't leave. You cannot get outside of the range. You cannot switch out of the range. And I mean, that could apply to anything, really. But I think we'll keep it single target because that's usually what it is. So anybody who is not exclusively targeted by it would still be able to leave. And in that way, it would make it very similar to, say, a Cavalier's Challenge. So when we come back here to classes, if we get into the base classes, there is something called a Cavalier. Now, Cavaliers are literally the Knight in Shining Armor archetype. Yes, there are paladins. Yes, paladins have mounts. Yes, paladins fight for gods and everything else. But the paladins are this divine figure. Cavaliers are literally just knights. Okay? They fight for a lord. Sometimes they fight for themselves. Sometimes they just fight because they want to. But they are the archetype of the Knight in Shining Armor. And as such, one of the things that they get is called a challenge. It says here, once per day, a Cavalier can challenge a foe to combat. And even though it doesn't say it, this is specifically single combat. Because you can challenge a foe. It can be the middle of a battle, okay? There could be combat raging all around you, and the Cavalier basically just points at you, does a little, eye thing. I'm looking at you, I see you, calling them out. As a swift action, the Cavalier chooses one target within sight to challenge, and no, they do not get to refuse the challenge. The Cavalier's melee attacks deal extra damage whenever the attacks are made against the target of his challenge. The extra damage is equal to their level. They can use it once per day at the first level, plus one additional time for every 3 levels beyond the first. Challenging a foe requires much of the Cavalier's concentration. They take a -2 penalty to their armor class except against attacks made by the target of the challenge. And the challenge remains until the target is dead or unconscious, or until combat ends. So basically what I'm seeing here is that this whole escape prevention, like if you were going to spirit shackle somebody, you're calling them out. You are spirit shackling that person, they're not allowed to leave. They're not allowed to leave, they're not allowed to run, they're not allowed to switch out, they're not allowed to do anything. You picked them. And now, you're going to make them suffer for it. Now, I don't necessarily know if this is going to work in general for all of these. I don't see why it wouldn't. Spiderweb here is a little bit weird. Because, web is a thing. It's a level 1 spell. It's a conjuration spell, I think. There's Web Bolt. Let's see. PC says, Step 1, make Cavalier. Step 2, challenge. Step 3, play Doom music from the boombox. Well, Cavalier is mostly a fantasy thing, so you'd have to, bring along your own minstrel. And even then, it would be the what's it called? Bardcore version of the Doom music. Does that exist? Does that exist? Hold on, I need to see if that exists. Let's see. Bardcore. And what is the Doom music? It's like M131, I think? Something like that. Screw it, I'm just going to type in Doom. Yes. Yes, it does exist. It's on my phone, so it sounds terrible, but it still exists. So there you go. That's what you got to do. Okay, you got to make your cavalier, you got to make your challenge, and then you have to just, point to the minstrels that are following you and have them belt it out. And PC says it's E1M1. That was it. Okay, I'm gonna let you in a little secret here. Okay, get close, get close, closer. I never played Doom. No, seriously, I never played Doom. The first Doom game that I played was on my channel for the Humble Spotlight. That was the first Doom game that I ever played. I know, sacrilege, and I call myself a gamer. Never played Quake either. Unreal Tournament was fun, though. Anyway. So, with Spiderweb, I mean, we can stick to the same thing. I don't see a need to make this any more complicated than it has to be. You're still going to pick out one person. We can flavor it however we want. In this case, they're shooting webs at the target. We can keep that. But the end effect is that they can't leave the radius. And it's about the best option that I can do. Because again, this one is like really abstract and archaic. Stop making me click on things. No retreat, which is also a move. And PC says, my gamer license has been revoked. Well, fortunately, we do not live in England, where I don't need a license to play games. So, there. No retreat was a move. A Pokemon that uses the move No Retreat will gain a variant of the Can't Escape condition. The No Retreat will fail if the user is already in position of No Retreat. However, the Pokemon that is already possessed can't escape, allowing the move No Retreat to be used many times without failing. Okay. Either way, it seems fine. So I just need to get this down on paper then. So, can't escape. And it looks like I actually kind of blocked all this into one place anyway. So we're going to say this is going to be a radius centered on the user that the target cannot leave. Movement must stop at the radius edge, and target cannot be switched out. So there we go. We got that. All right, so that takes care of No Retreat. Octolock, basically the same thing. Gets a variant of the Can't Escape condition. Disable. So a Pokemon under the effect of Disable is unable to use a specific move for anywhere from 0 to 7 turns in Generation 1, 2 to 8 turns in Gen 2, 2 to 5 turns in Gen 3. I don't care. Let's just move on to Gen 4. Or Gen 9. And Jeffrey's here. Hello, Jeffrey. You caught the tail end. So it's 4 turns from Generation 5 onwards, no more rolling. In Gen 1, the disabled move is randomly selected among their moves, whose current uses are greater than 0. In Gen 2 onwards, it is the last move the target used. Alright, well, I mean, that's interesting. So if it's going to be the last move used, I think, quite honestly, we can keep things the way they are. Because it sounds like it's going to be whatever they last used, you're just going to hit them with disable, and that move is now out for 4 turns. Right? Did say 4, right? Yeah, 4 turns from Generation 5 onwards. So, yeah, rules as written. Super easy. Embargo. A Pokemon under the move of Embargo is unable to use its held item, and its trainer cannot use items on it. I've never seen that move before. Including the Wonder Launcher. For 5 turns, a Pokemon under the effect of Embargo cannot use Fling. Is this another Arceus thing? No, it is not. It was introduced in Gen 4. And yeah, it was in Gen 4. Okay. Let's see. Generation 8 onwards, though. Embargo cannot be selected in battle. Did they straight up remove it? If it cannot be selected in battle, it must mean that it was removed. It's no longer a move. Weird. I don't think I've ever seen a move that got straight up just ripped out. Nerfed, maybe. Changed, sure. Some of them have been. I've never seen one that just got straight up removed. Huh. I wonder why. And Alden just says, yes, it was removed, I assume. There's actually a lot? Interesting. I just haven't come across them. Oh wait, because they were removed. You know, it actually makes sense when you think about it. Hidden Power and Pursuit? Well, now I'm kind of curious. Alright, so this one is an NA because it was removed. However, no, I swear I've seen Hidden Power. Hidden Power. It's a damage-dealing normal-type move introduced in Gen 2. Although it appears normal-type move, Hidden Power's actual type varies. Weird. I always wondered what it did. TM10 from Generation 2 through Ultra Sun and Moon. From Generation 8 onward, it is the signature move of the Unknown. And Generation 8, Hidden Power cannot be selected in battle. Alden says, I mean, sorta, Hidden Power was added back as Unknown signature move. Yeah, Generation 9, Hidden Power cannot be selected in battle. Okay, so it's gone, but it's not. You're right. Specifically for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Well, I didn't have an Unknown, so I didn't have that one. Alright, weird. Very weird. But sure, okay. Alright, so we don't need to worry about Embargo. It's gone. Heal Block then. Because we're running out of time here, and we still actually have, like... Yeah, we can see the bottom of the list, kinda. But we're gonna have to do these next time, too. Alright, Heal Block. Sounds like it should be pretty straightforward. A Pokemon affected by Heal Block or Psychic Noise is prevented from healing for 5 or 2 turns, respectively. Very simple. No healing. Then Imprison. Now, I'm sure imprisonment in Pokemon means something a whole lot different than imprisonment in Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder, because imprisonment in those is awful. Imprison, if you're playing either Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, is one of the nastier spells. It's a very high-level arcane spell, and it needs to be, because what it does is it traps you in a box. And then it buries that box some 20 miles underground. So you will never get out, and nobody will ever find you again. And you will die. It's an instant kill move. The only way to actually get somebody out of imprisonment is to cast the spell Freedom on the same spot that they were imprisoned, or to use literal god magic, either Wish or Miracle. That's imprisonment. It's bad. For Pokemon, Imprison says when a Pokemon is under the effect of Imprison, its opponents cannot use any move which is known by the user of Imprison. The Pokemon will use Struggle if it has no available moves with the remaining uses, besides moves blocked by Imprison. So it basically sounds like it's Disable, but different. So if you have duplicate moves, then you can't do that. But what are the odds? I mean, what a really niche ability to have. I personally would not waste my time on that. It seems like the kind of thing that you would really have to metagame to get use out of. However, it is a Psychic type move from Gen 3. It was a TM in Gen 9, so it's still here. Let's see, as long as the user remains in battle, opponents can't use any move which is known by this user. This includes opponents switched in after the move was used, and even non-adjacent opponents in triple battles. Imprison applies only to the user's current move set, including any new moves learned by leveling up in battle, or any moves acquired by using the Mimic, Sketch, or Transform. And Alden says, yep, even then, it rarely sees use in competitive. Yeah, I mean, like, you're right, even in competitive, like, competitive users are going to be using a lot of the same moves, but, even then, it's so niche and so temperamental. I cannot imagine using it. I don't see anything that we need to change, though. Per rules will suit us just fine, because while there are a lot of rules to it, the basic understanding, though, is just if you have it and they have it, they can't use it. And that's it. Move blocked by Imprison can still be called by Assist, Me First, Metronome, or Sleep Talk. However, Instruct fails when attempting to force a Pokemon to use a move that is blocked by Imprison. Again, rules as written. There's nothing much else that we have to do there. So, yeah. Rules as written, we'll leave it as is. I think that's good. Which means that, well, we're out of time. That's going to be the last one. So we still have several to do. A lot of these, I think, are going to be really easy, though. I mean, as you can see, most of them that we did today, per rules, nothing else needed. It's just a matter of getting through them. So, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to leave things off here. When we get back here next time, we should be able to finish up this list. In fact, if I have to go long next time, we will. Because I'm finishing up the list. Okay? I'm finishing it. We're not doing any more than four weeks on this. That's a month. It's a month spent on conditions. Not doing any more than that. You gotta have limits somewhere. But I still feel good about what we did today. I think we made good progress. I like the way a lot of these abilities are showing up. And the fact is that we probably would have got further if we didn't spend as much time on teleport. But the time spent on teleport was absolutely worth it, just because it was a moment for us to really think about how these Pokemon are going to work outside of battle. And I think it's great. I really do. I like it so much. I'm still thinking about the teleport and whether or not we should use the divide their level by 5, because yeah, it's probably better that way. Even then, a level 100 Pokemon can still teleport 2,000 miles. It's huge. It really is. So I think I look forward to those little diversions along the way as much as I do building everything else, because those are the questions that are really going to affect people. It's like when we talked about the ghost types being able to go through walls. That is useful in just so very many ways that we haven't even touched all of them yet. I mean, think about it. Pokemon is played in a modern setting, right? Pokemon has cars and trucks. Could you imagine if you accidentally locked your keys in the car, but you have a Haunter? Haunter, please get my keys out of the car. And there you go. Or if you've ever locked yourself out of the house. I mean, I've done that before. So, I love going down those little side tangents and seeing exactly what these things can do for you. Alright, so, we're going to leave it off there. Again, if you're enjoying this, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, that way you get notified every time we do these videos. We do them at the same time every week, but still, you can subscribe to it. It won't hurt you. If you know somebody else who's also into Pokemon or tabletop games like Starfinder, Pathfinder, share this video with them. If you like me, what I'm doing, leave a like on the video. You can leave comments down below too. Otherwise though, if you want to, you're going to leave a comment anyway, join the Discord. It's there, it's friendly. Join the Discord, come talk with us, come play with us. Go to the Behind the Screen channel. Let me know what game you want to play, what your availability is, and once you do, as soon as I get enough people, we'll start playing. So I hope to see you there. I hope to see you next time for more Pokemon. And until then, take care.